Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Public engagement through effective communication channels is imperative for mutual trust and understanding between the government and the governed, especially in a democratic space. While successive governments in the country devised means of communicating their policies and programs through periodic media engagement, nationwide broadcasts on complex and delicate national issues, others engage the services of PR and communication professionals to engage with the publics. With complex and multidimensional socio-economic and political challenges plaguing the country, current administration of President Bola Tinubu, according to experts, has fallen short of engaging its publics in the face of growing anger over cost of living crisis, insecurity, and fuel shortages severely affecting the citizens. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with public relations and communication experts Ahmed Sajo, who we hope will join us perhaps in the course of the program, and Iliyasu Gadu, on the implications of absence of effective communication channels between citizens and the policy makers. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, viewers. Thank you for having me.
We also extended an invitation to the Special Advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale. We hope to have him join us for the conversation tonight. But before we delve into the issues, here are some tidbits. The House of Representatives has invited President Bola Tinubu and all relevant stakeholders in the petroleum industry to appear before it to brief Nigerians on the measures put in place to end the current fuel scarcity and avert its reoccurrence in the future. The sermon followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by the member representing Makarfi Kudan Federal Constituency of Kaduna State, Honorable Umar Shehu Ajilo, at plenary on Tuesday. Moving the motion, Ajilo expressed worry over the lingering fuel scarcity accompanied by excessive increase in retail price of premium motor spirit petrol in filling stations across the country, which he noted have enabled additional hardship on Nigerian citizens. In another development, human rights lawyer Femi Falana has slammed the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, over failure to deliver a constant supply of electricity despite increasing tariff for Nigerians using Band A. In what he described as the illegality of tariffs, Falana said the federal government and Adelabu could not defend the impunity that formed the hike, adding that they have failed Nigerians. Falana said this while appearing as a guest on a channel's television program. Recall that the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, had increased the tariff paid by Band A customers from 68 naira per kilowatt hour to 225 naira per kilowatt hour. We now take a short break, and when we return, the conversation commences. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, while we await the arrival perhaps of our second guest, talking about Ahmed Sajo, and also hoping to also have Ajuri Ngelale virtually, we have already in the studio, as I said, Iliyasu Gadu. Thank you once again for coming.
Thanks very much, Shafiu.
Right, okay. But before we we look at the topic, let's look at the tidbits. The first one, talking about House of Representatives summoning the President to explain, and other stakeholders perhaps to explain reasons behind the current fuel scarcity in the country. They're just resuming from recess, and the House of Representatives is taking the bold step to engage critical stakeholders. What do you make up with this resolve?
I think it's the right step in the right time, in the right step at the right time.
Yeah.
Because for quite some time, a lot of things have been happening. Untoward things have been happening in the economy, in the polity, and we've not had any clarity from the government and its agencies and its appointees, which is what it's supposed to be. What we get in form of explanation is just, a mishmash of statements, contradictions, and all that. And the public is left really bewildered as to whether there is somebody on the tail, somebody is on the, taking care of situations. And now the blame has been on the House of Representatives and the National Assembly, as a matter of fact, the two chambers of the National Assembly, for not doing enough
in terms of oversight.
In terms of oversight over some of these very, very germane issues bordering the nation. And this is something that they are, by virtue of their roles in the Constitution, they're supposed to have a handle on. So the summoning of Mr. President and his officials to come and explain,
and other stakeholders in the industry, is quite the right step in the right direction, because Nigerians are bewildered. We are suffering from quite a number of issues that ought to have clarity. We want to know the direction of things. We've not had anything from the government. Most of perhaps because the president is also the Minister of Petroleum.
Exactly, he's a substantive Minister of Petroleum.
So he is the right person to be able to explain.
Exactly, and in the case of the president, he appears to be micromanaging what is happening in the industry. So the people, the next person who ought to speak on his behalf is supposed to be the Minister of State, and then of course, and the GMD, NNPC. But from the statement issued from the mouths of these personalities, we don't seem to have clarity. In fact, things seem to have deteriorated to the point where we are now. Fuel selling at 1,000, 1,400, in some places as much as 2,000 naira.
A liter.
So this is something that we never bargained for, and we want explanation. We thought that with the withdrawal of subsidies, we should be able to have fuel, as at when demanded and at reasonable prices. We do not have that, so we want to know. And the president, who is the substantive Minister of Petroleum, ought to be put on the spot to be able to tell us why is this thing happening.
Yeah, well, yes, you talked about some of the responses coming from the NNPCL, for instance. It consistently told Nigerians that there is no need to panic. It's a supply disruption as a result of logistic issues. But then what Nigerians are seeing coming out almost on a daily basis is contrary, some would say. For instance, just today, I think it is the independent marketers or so that are threatening to shut down. Over 200 billion debts, they said, the federal government owed them and all of that. So this is one aspect of it. And again, there was also this claim, or this hope raised by the NNPCL that the fuel queues would disappear, in no distant time, because there were concessions, imports, if you like, vessels have arrived and all of that. Isn't that perhaps enough to bring down the tension?
It wouldn't bring down the tension, because between what the independent marketers are saying and what the NNPC boss is saying, regarding, the logistics problem, and what also is out there in the public space, to the extent, to the effect that, at this moment, most of the refineries in Europe or somewhere else around the world are into turnaround maintenance. So it's likely that we may not be able to have a supply of fuel, because we are basically an importing country. So we're not likely to have enough fuel for use in the country, supply of fuel. So there are three different contradictory statements, and this does not help anybody. We want to have clarity. The NNPC boss ought to be able to tell, because he is on the operations area. We ought to know.
And a sole importer.
Yeah, as the sole importer. We ought to know this, and it's even, inexcusable that because you are having, turnaround maintenance of refineries in Europe, you wouldn't have talked about, you wouldn't have, determined the inventory, what you need in the inventory to take care of this shortfall while this turnaround maintenance is taking place. Yeah. And also the statements coming from the from the independent marketers, saying they're being owned hundreds of millions of, millions of naira in terms of back charges and things like that. And then, so this really is confusing to Nigerians generally. And what we see is not any clarity and not any move to, particularly take care of the situation. What we see in reality are long queues, at fuel stations, and what we see, what we feel, it's about buying fuel at 1,000 and more than that in many places in Nigeria. I bought fuel this evening at the rate of 1,000 naira. So how does that even clarify things to me? Yeah. The man who is at the head of it all, the president, seems to be mum. He doesn't seem to even want to even talk about it. So we need to be able to know what is happening, because we know that fuel or petrol is at the center of Nigerian economy, and if we do not have any clarity about it, then this is something that the House of Reps must step in and ensure that something must be done. Right.
Okay. Something must be done. A human rights lawyer, Femi Falana, very consistent with his holding leadership accountable. Has just slammed the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, over failure to provide constant supply to Nigerians in spite of a tariff hike. The recent tariff hike for Band A category of customers has raised a lot of concerns. From 200. Okay, I think I have it somewhere. I mentioned it. From the amount, the increase from 68 naira per kilowatt to 225 naira per kilowatt. Yet there is no constant supply of power to this category of customers. And then to Barrister Falana SAN, this is not something that should be taken by Nigerians. What do you make of his with his intervention now?
I think to put it in the right perspective, the Minister of Power, the current Minister of Power, is actually one of the square pegs in the round hole of this administration. He came in with just one track-minded, solution to the problems, the myriad of problems in the power sector, and he zeroed in on raising of tariffs.
Tariff hike.
He didn't look at the issues, the myriad of issues that are bedeviling that sector, like the corruption, the dysfunction, the lack of supply. He did not do anything to increase the megawatts that is supplied in this country. He did not do anything again to improve the supply of power in the country. So all he's talking about is we'll solve the problem if we raise the tariff. And at the end of the day, people begin to ask, where is even the supply? In a situation where we have not even improved the supply of electricity in this country, why are we even looking at just raising the tariff as the only solution? Is it the only solution to the problems in the area?
Yeah, but then was it a decision for him to make? This is a federal government decision, a policy direction. They said they cannot sustain, the amount of subsidy they are paying, on this electricity supply, especially for this category of customers. They are looking at, what they are saying is that the tariff hike just affects 70% of the total electricity consumers in Nigeria, so only 30% are affected. But even at that, many believe this wasn't a decision of the minister. It was a decision the federal government has to take, perhaps because of the pressure from IMF and World Bank, who have been consistently asking the government to, remove its hands, if you like, or to take away the subsidy on electricity. Does the government has any option other than this?
Yeah, but the question is, has the government extended, or has the government really explored, taking the pains to explore the range of options available and the range of issues, steps it could take to improve the electricity supply? We have a number of sources of electricity supply in this country that has not been explored. We have gas, we have solar, we have thermal, we have wind, we have hydroelectricity. Has the government done anything about this? None. And then what also we're looking at is just one area, and the area that suits the government. And this area, this talk about band or whatever, it's even deceptive. It's trying to create an apartheid policy system of power supply. The power supply available in this country will now be channeled towards what they call Band A. The rest of us will live.
Isn't that justifiable, considering the fact that, if you look at the other side of the coin, significant number of Nigerians are also not paying for this power supply. So if the Band A customers are living up to expectation and the government felt that this category of customers need to be properly supplied, isn't that justified?
But isn't that an abdication of responsibility on the part of government? You are supplying something to people that you are not even keeping track of. You're not even trying to find out how people are, are you making use of this and how they supply. You are supposed to be the person to determine whether people are, to determine concretely whether they are using it as per supply. And if they don't, you can remove it. But you do not have to, there are a lot of people again who are actually paying for the service and who want to pay for the services. But it's because the way the system is set up.
The non-availability.
Non-availability. So people try to say, well, if the power sector does not live up to its expectations, then we can also, we will also try to do what we can to make sure that
we even know that shouldn't be encouraged.
Yeah, it shouldn't be encouraged.
Defaulting for payment of, electricity at a supply and all of that shouldn't be encouraged. But then let's look at, we are talking about options. The Minister of Power was recently invited by the lawmakers, and then he told them point blank that Nigerians have two options: pay for the tariff hike or face the darkness. It's a case of you just have to do one.
No, but the question is, does he know that there are places in this country that have not been without light for the past 6 months? Is he just trying to is he trying to threaten Nigeria? He said it before a Senate committee, which is by extension representing the Nigerian people. So if he's trying to threaten Nigerians, that's not the language you should use. You should be able to tell them the impediments in the supply chain of the power supply in this country and the challenges that the ministry and the power sector is having. It's not to come out and make a pronouncement, a very arrogant pronouncement before lawmakers and say, if we do not accept this, then we should be ready to cope with. That's him there on the screen there.
Yeah. All right, okay, looking at the challenge and perhaps the way out, before we leave this and go to our main topic of discussion, we're at a crossroad. The human rights lawyer is saying that Nigerians, the federal government and the power ministry, the minister in particular, have failed Nigerians. Is it fair to say that they have failed Nigerians woefully at the point they are also making efforts to, address the challenges, especially trying to revisit even the unbundling of the sector, which is not working?
No, but before the last administration exited, we were told by the Minister of Finance that the government has phased out subsidies. So why are we talking about subsidies now? Yeah, so that's the question we have to ask the minister. That's the question the minister has to answer. Mrs. Zainab Ahmed told us, the former Minister of Finance, told us that subsidies have been phased out in the electricity sector. So why are they talking about subsidies now? Who is the one benefiting from the subsidies? And in any case, this sector has been privatized and commercialized over 20 years ago. We are now practically, the sector is being run by private concerns. Why have they not been taken to task? They were given generous terms of
some concessions.
All of that. Right now they have failed us. So why should you transfer the failure of the private firms to why should you transfer the burden of the failure of the private firms to the people who are actually waiting to hear?
But isn't that what the government is checkmating, trying to retrieve, if you like, the licenses and then give them to people who have the capacity, to deliver and all of that? Isn't that a right step?
Yeah, but what we're talking about is the government should do a root and branch step into how these failures have taken, because this involves very serious amount of money that's been spent. People have, built their hopes on the on the efficiency of that sector and the pronouncement of government. And the government intention was that, look, we cannot continue to subsidize this sector. We cannot continue to run this sector as a public enterprise. We want to give it to people who we believe can manage it under private or initiative or commercial initiative. They have failed for 20 years. A lot of them have taken loans
from banks.
They have not,
banks are now even running some of the
So it's actually they need to be pursued so that the monies they have taken on behalf of the public to run this on an efficient basis, they have to be questioned. And then we get to know who and what led to the failure so that we can make the corrections. It's not just enough to say we are going to now, ask the people to pay for the failures of those private people who were giving all the concessions to make this sector work, and they have not done that.
Right, okay. I think we can now go into our topic, discussing our topic today. We're looking at public engagement. It still, revolves around what we've been talking about. Earlier on, we were talking about the summoning of the minister, that the president, who is the Minister of Petroleum. Perhaps it shows that there hasn't been enough communication on the side of the executive branch. So this is, a background to our conversation now. Public engagement, which is very crucial, for maintaining a kind of favorable, environment, if you like, between for public and government engagement, so to speak. Many felt has not been efficient or effective, in spite of the channels. There are retinue of people who have been hired, perhaps, to engage the public, to communicate government policies and programs. Let me get your assessment of this in the last 1 year.
It has been quite abysmal. And to be candid, this government seems to do all it can to avoid talking to the public, avoid explaining things to the public, avoid discussing with the public, avoid consultation with the public over some of its policies. It's doing all it can to make sure that these things, they do not face the public, do not face the stakeholders. So they believe in just, announcing very important public policy issues by means that do not really, that do not really catch the attention of the people, and they do it whimsically and without any, any remorse. In fact, it's even this pattern of engagement or non-engagement, as a matter of fact, it was started by the president himself. Look at this, the issue of removal of subsidies.
But hasn't there been enough explanation with regards to why the subsidy has to go and why Nigerians should endure for the future and all of that? The government has been consistently telling Nigerians that himself, the president and some of his aides have been talking to Nigerians on the reason why the subsidy has to go and why they should also endure. Policies like this, come with the hardship, the initial hardship, but they will go over time and then...
No, but except that it was introduced surreptitiously. I mean, if you are going to introduce a policy measure of this magnitude, which affects virtually everything in the economy, virtually every sector of the economy, you could do with discussions. I mean, you could do with discussions and consultations with various stakeholders, people who are going to implement, people who are going to carry the message.
You mean even before the announcement, there should have been public engagement?
Of course. It happened during the time of Babangida. There was engagement. Yes. That was the first time that IMF policies were introduced in this country. There were engagements. There were discussions all over Nigeria. I remember the minister then, Kalu Idika Kalu, and some other people went around the country sectorially and discussed. They discussed with organized private sector, they discussed with university lecturers, they discussed with organized labor, they discussed with all sector of economy, strata of economy, and at the end of the day, they now got the benefit of the views of the Nigerians. Perhaps, But in this case, it was introduced surreptitious. In fact, it was not even in the speech of the president. Right from the very second that Mr. President took over office, he decided to introduce this as a surreptitious measure. And that set the pattern of the discourse of the way this government has been engaging Nigerians or non-engaging Nigerians on very, very important issues. Now look at what we are facing in this country now, at this very moment, with this fuel scarcity, with this issue of hike in electricity tariff. It was introduced in a manner that is so arrogant. I mean, for instance, where is the Minister of Petroleum or Minister of State of Petroleum? Where is the Minister of Information? When last have you even seen the Minister of Information engage Nigerians?
To be fair to the Ministry of Information, it has been engaging with journalists to some extent. I can remember that about 3 or 4 occasions there have been ministers appearing, on a panel. To discuss, to tell Nigerians what they are doing.
On this particular issue,
Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Health, Minister of Power, and all of that. I think we are on the platform, to tell Nigerians why they have to do what they are doing.
No, but what I'm saying, okay, let's look at this particular issue we're facing now, of fuel scarcity, sudden fuel scarcity, and nobody is engaging Nigerians. The Minister of Petroleum, or rather, Minister of State for Petroleum, the GMD. In normal circumstances, the Minister of Information ought to be, the 3 of them ought to come together and discuss with Nigerians and talk to Nigerians of sector. Look, this is what is happening. This and this and this and this and this. It is not intended to do this or do that. And let us get to know. Let us be on the same page. Nobody is talking to anybody. And then,
But looking at the fallout, the public outcry and all of that, there has been several measures introduced by the government, the palliative measures and what have you, to cushion the effect. And at many points, people in government, especially the president, has been telling Nigerians that, well, it wasn't intended to hurt Nigerians, but it's a necessary evil that has to take place, for the country to move.
But did he discuss with Nigerians about it? Did he tell Nigerians that he was going to introduce this measure and that this and this and this and this are the steps we are going to take to ensure that we get Nigerians on the same page on it? He didn't do that.
After the policy pronouncement,
but the chicken has flown the coop. The damage has been done, and people are crying. People are really languishing in hardship. And what you need to do is to look at it and say, look, okay, we are going to review it. We are going to now step back and then see the areas that we can introduce, how we can introduce this in a manner that Nigerians can take it in bite size.
Right. Very few of presidential aides have been outspoken. Recently, we had the special advisor to the president on economic matters here. He talked about what exactly you are saying, that the need, to slow down on some of these things and the need to take some steps, backward to see what needs to be done, to alleviate the sufferings. But it is one out of several others that's supposed to be engaging Nigerians. We have, for instance, the special advisor, assistant rather, to the president on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. We have, a couple of others like Abdulaziz, who is a special advisor also to the president on media, print. Even the one started with the responsibility of publicity, media and publicity, talking about Ajuri Ngelale. Has occasionally been talking to Nigerians, but some find the communication channel awkward, somehow. The fact that he dropped the messages on Twitter handle, the X handle, so to speak, in most cases. There has been concern around the reach, how many Nigerians can have access to Twitter, and how effective is such communication?
Shafiu, you are talking about people who are communication experts. Bayo Onanuga, Ajuri Ngelale, Abdulaziz, our own Abdulaziz. And several others. These are people who know what it is to communicate issues, how it should communicate and get the right kind of response.
Perhaps feedback from them.
And feedback. The whole essence of communication is feedback. But if you choose a method of communication that doesn't reach the generality of Nigerians, how many people are into Twitter in Nigeria? And how many people even care about it anyway? Twitter information is just short, information that doesn't really explain the circumstances of that policy you are trying to communicate to people.
In most cases, it's just dropped for media to pick up and then spray it if you circulate.
No, but why? These are people who are used to communicating to people. Why can't they come out and engage the people on behalf of the administration or the public or the president and tell them, look, this is what we are doing, this is what this administration is doing, and let them be the face of the administration and let people begin to talk, to see the administration in their faces and in their communication.
By the way, they are image makers of the administration.
That is what it's supposed to be. And these are communication experts, seasoned communication experts, but they rely on Twitter or X handle and some other means of communication that is just not effective enough. That is why
elitist, so to speak, not reaching out to the vast majority of Nigerians. Twitter is elitist, some will say. Well, okay, it's about time we take a break, and when we return, the conversation continues. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics. We're looking at public engagement, addressing the gaps in Tinubu's government. And I have in the studio Iliyasu Gadu, a communication and information expert. Together we'll be looking at the issues. So we've also been waiting perhaps to get the special advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ingelali, to join us on the conversation, but we're yet to get him joined live. Thank you very much for staying with us. We'll take a short break. When we return, our conversation continues.
In the beautiful city of Abuja, Nigeria, there exists a unique community that has captured the attention of many.
Abuja entirely, especially in the Wuse environment, anybody can stay here. You mustn't be rich before you live in Abuja.
Ta cikin kuci din da shi kuma suka hada shi kayan kwadin da adadin da kuci din shi kuma ya tashi kado.
If you're going to work in the morning, if there's rain, you just have to wait. Otherwise, you'll be swimming in water.
For this Abuja, not any market like Zonfo, not any place you can measure like Zonfo.
In the Kado community here, we don't have head center here. Since Kado is very far away to the Gwarumpa General Hospital, you know how government policy is.
From serene parks offering a retreat from the urban bustle to iconic monuments that stand a testament to the neighborhood's history, each landmark has a story to tell.
This is Abuja we are talking about. Forget Central area. This is Abuja. If you want to mention Abuja, leave that villa and what do they call them, Central area. Here is heart of the town.
Thank you very much for staying with us. You can do well by following us across our social media platforms or watch us live on YouTube. And just before the break, you're talking about, the retinue, if you like, of communication experts that have been hired by the president to help engage with the public and communicate policies and programs of the government. One just mentioned has been invited. Send the invitation. Didn't say he's coming or not, and all of that. But then here we are. It has been, some would say, the tradition, just like you said, a number of these media aides are running away from public discourse. But why is this happening? Is it that themselves lack confidence in the government, or is it that there is scarcity of what to tell Nigerians?
It's a combination of all of it. But more importantly, it's also the type of pattern of the government, the way it wants to, studiously, run away from awkward situations that it has foisted on the people of Nigeria. And they have no answers to this. Critically, they have no answers to some of these issues that are going on, because you could see that the policies that they have foisted on Nigerians have more or less fallen apart. So they are afraid to face the Nigerian public and tell the Nigerian public or provide answers, because there are a lot of angry Nigerians out there who want to have answers to what is happening. And these people do not have the answers. And so it's better to say, look, stay away from this. stay away from the people, so that you don't get yourself into some awkward situations. You can imagine, for instance, Bayo Nanuga or Ajuri Ngelale coming face to face with Femi Falana in a public situation. You know how they will end up. And Ajuri Ngelale, to be fair to him, seemed to be comfortable in announcing appointments. That's where he finds himself.
You also communicate policy directions and policy announcements using the Twitter handle.
70% of what he does is announce appointments by Mr. President. So that's where his brief is.
Okay, I think it's about also time we get Nigerians to come in. The conversation is expanded. You can reach us on the telephone line that will be provided on your screen. It's already on your screen. So you can also join the conversation, giving us your feedback in respect to this very important topic. It's about public engagement. It's about Nigerians. It's about the challenges faced by Nigerians and how they feel about it. Okay, looking at the situation and perhaps why some of these government appointees are not responding, if you like. Okay, what do you think should be done to get them to engage with the public?
No, they should just upgrade their what they're doing, really, because right now they're more or less like hiding more or less from the public. They themselves are bewildered by the plummeting economy. They were overwhelmed really by what's happening. There are no answers to what's happening in the economy. There are no answers to what's happening in insecurity. And
okay, I think we have a caller on the line, so let's get to hear from him. Okay, who is on the line and where are you calling from? Are you there? Okay. Yes. Okay, let's keep the calls coming in so that we can also get your feedback. Okay, you're making a point.
So basically, they are trying to manage a situation of deficits in information, deficits in facts and figures. Deficits.
But this is a government that has a roadmap. It has a plan. It has a manifesto, if you like. It has what you call the renewed hope agenda. Are you saying that some of these policies are detached from what is embedded in that?
It's one thing to say...
Okay, caller, sorry, just a moment. Okay, who do we have?
Good evening.
Okay, good evening. What's your name?
Yeah, Shafiu Suleiman and Iliyasu Gadu. Good evening once again.
Yeah, good evening, sir. How are you?
Yeah, you are speaking to Ali Umar Shamaki from Nasarawa State.
Okay, Ali Umar, go ahead, please.
In fact, I concur with the guys in the studio there. By tomorrow we are entering 1 year. There's nothing to write home about. This government has never come out to tell Nigeria what they intended to do for us. Of the truth. People are suffering. Inflation here and there. It's never done with the increase of fuel subsidy. They are talking about electric power to increase
tariff.
Power tariff. So, in fact, Nigerians are tired. Last 8 years, Nigeria suffered just like that. This administration came thinking that they are bringing something to the common man on the table. They are not seeing anything. Everything increases. If the government are saying they're going to increase the pump price, they should enforce law on the merchants. There's no law. There is no government in this country. Something needs to be done. We are waiting to see what the president will tell Nigeria tomorrow. This is my contribution. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, you've had him. Okay. You've had the caller now talking about the need, just like we were saying earlier, there's need for, engagement before some of these things happen and all of that.
That's basically what democracy is all about. That's what a government, a sensitive government should do. Because this policy you are introducing or you are about to introduce will have serious effect. Very serious effect on lives and livelihoods. So you need to spread out, apart from the president coming out and tell Nigerians, let Nigerians see him face to face, say these things, and then spread your information managers to go out and say, look, this is what we intend to do. These are the implications. These are the effects, likely effects. And this is what we want from you. And this is what we are going to do.
In other words, it is not time to shy away from the media engagements. Okay, we have another caller. Hello. Hello, who do we have on the line?
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. What's the name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Ondo State, Pastor Ijibu.
Okay, what's your name?
Pastor Ijibu from Ondo State.
Okay, go ahead, Pastor.
So it's a very painful for us in Nigeria that we are still facing scarcity of fuel in this country. And then they remove subsidy. We don't know how they spend the subsidy. Now we are buying fuel at rate of 1,500 per liter in Ondo State. And then we have president in this country, as old as Baba is. Why can't he control this country? Because they are blaming those who vote for Baba as the president of this Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please, sir, help us to speak with Baba before tomorrow to find something to do for this country, to bail us out of this poverty and scarcity of fuel.
Okay. Okay. I hope Mr. President is watching you, or his aides are watching to put forward the message to him. Thank you very much for your inputs. Okay. So the issue of the hardship, the fuel scarcity and increase, spread across the country. It's calling from Ondo. Talking about 1,500 naira to a liter. Okay, so some are looking at, the fact that this is something that affects generality of Nigerians, irrespective of where they come from.
Yes. So this is why we need a very serious engagement with Nigerians. Let Mr. President address the country. Because first of all, he's the president. He's also the substantive Minister of Information.
Petroleum.
Petroleum. And also, it's unfortunate, really, really unfortunate that the response by Mr. President to all this suffering is to say that he will continue, he will continue the policies, even if Nigerians continue to cry about this. Is insensitive.
Well, there are not adjustments, where because right now what many people are saying is that there is some sort of reversal of some of these policies without necessarily telling Nigerians. Okay, we have another caller. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes. Aliu from Sileja.
Okay, Aliu from Sileja. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. I really enjoy your discussion in the studio.
Right.
I really appreciate your effort and also the management of Trust TV for the wonderful work you people are doing for Nigerians.
Thank you.
You see, the communication gap between the leadership in this country is a problem that Nigerians have been suffering from for a decade. You can see during electioneering, the people see it very important to communicate to masses to see the reason why they should be voted for. And then when the leaders go outside the show of this country, they also engage investors, talk to them that they should come and invest in Nigeria. But they don't regard the citizens of this country that they need to be engaged in policies of government, in addressing the problems on the ground, in what the government are doing to better the lives of citizens. It is not important. Even though people are suffering or dying, the leadership always keep mum that nothing is happening. They are doing their best. That is not the way to rule the people. I expect that this government, I really commend them by they have some level of listening here. But Mr. President should do more by trying to engage some of the key media representatives in the country, even the ones in a month, or when there is a critical issue like what we are facing now on ground. Talk to the Nigerians. Let answer questions and let the Nigerian people know the direction the government is going and what they are doing to address the problem on ground. All those things is very important. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your inputs. He's talking about the need for those engagement, especially at a periodic level. Perhaps we've seen previous administration engaging in, is it a quarterly engagement of the media and all of that? That aspect, has not been sustained, so to speak. But then you also talked about how, at a point when they are seeking elective offices, they go to the grassroots,
Mr. President,
reach out to the people, but once they get there...
Mr. President told us when he was, campaigning for the office, that Nigerians should not pity him. Yeah, he said...
He asked for the job.
He asked for the job. He has been looking for the job for how long? And he said he was going to hit the ground running.
That's right.
And he was going to tackle the issues.
Yeah.
And what we expect, we did not, Nigerians did not challenge him on that. What they said, yes, okay, fine, that's good news, that's good saying.
Yeah.
But he, as soon as he got into office, he just clamped up. And then we see things happening surreptitiously. All the media experts you talk about now have been sort of restricted from what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be regular engagement.
Are they being restricted? Is it lack of funding? Because
I cannot speak for them.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation was talking about lack of funding, adequate funding. Take, for instance, just 300 million naira for the ministry, very strategic ministry like information, which is image maker of the nation and all of that. Okay, we have a caller. You answer that when we get the inputs. Hello, who do we have on the line? Hello? Oh, okay, I think we lost the call. Okay, so talking about funding, which is very critical. Are they restricted in terms of access to the media, or is it because they are also lacking in funding to be able to reach out? Media engagement is capital intensive.
No, but if you have the Ministry of Information, it's situated at the very important nexus of public and government engagement. Whatever the government wants to achieve, the Ministry of Information or the information management system of that government is better able to achieve it if it is given the encouragement. Okay. Encouragement by virtue of funding, by virtue of giving timely information, by virtue of engaging, not afraid. Look, it's not whether the policies are harsh or people have... Let people know
why
this is going to happen, especially when you are introducing very radical policies like this. You need to engage the people. You need to tell them why this is happening. Be open to them. Yeah. They don't need to hear something, on the sly. And then also to, when you see government, like what the Minister of Power was just saying, you must accept this tariff hike, or that is not the language you have to do to people who are suffering, who don't even get the light in the first place, who are not even supplied with the light. So people are going to ask you, what light are you even giving us anyway? And then you are telling us you are not going to supply light for 3 months. So what light are you even giving us anyway? What light that you are talking to us like this? People have a right to be talked to in a manner that respects them, that gives them accords them the respect that they deserve as the people who voted you, not as people you talk down on because you think you have power. Yeah. And then it appears that everybody in this government appears to be taking that line of talk to the people, and this is very unfortunate.
Okay, we're rounding up now. If you're in a place to advise the president, what do you think needs to be done to build public trusts towards the government?
First of all, the right from Mr. President himself, they need to engage with the people. We need to see Mr. President more and more. We need to see him talk. We need to see him address Nigerians. Right. Especially at critical juncture like this. We need to see his ministers engage Nigerians, talk to them, tell them that this is what we are facing, this is what we want to do, this is what we are facing, and this is how we're going to face it. We need your support. We don't want people to talk down on us. They are not more intelligent than you and I, but we need them there to do a job. They are public officers. They are not private officers. They are not people, under the influence of Mr. President, they are here to work for Nigerians. They are not here.
By the way, they are being paid with taxpayers.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Comrade Iliyasu Gadu, for talking to us on Daily Politics. And viewers who have also taken their time to participate in the conversation, we appreciate your calls. We hope to do more by tomorrow, where we will come with another interesting topic and personalities. Until then, this is where we come to the end of this conversation tonight. We do hope you had the conversation engaging and informative. If you do, join us tomorrow. We'll be back with another interesting personalities and topic. Until then, I'm Shafiu Suleiman, thanking you for investing your time with us.